Good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports. It is our weekend program where we speak with the movers and shakers of sports, the sportsmen, sportswomen, administrators, coaches, just about everyone who is involved in sports. But on today's program, we should be looking basically at a review of 2024, the first quarter, sorry, of 2024. And we also hoping to speak to our guest, that's Mr. Keith Williams, who should be with us for a few minutes. We're still waiting to see if we can get Keith. We know that he actually had a training session on today. Keith is a guy that's just involved in quite a bit. You know, he's moving from one to the next. As they say, wherever the drum beats, Keith is there. You know, he's really a cultural ambassador, but he's also involved in sports because he does a lot of officiating. For example, during the Carifta Games, we had Keith. That's Keith Williams. He was a part of the opening ceremony, right? And then he was also doing cultural pieces, by the way, dancing, etc. And then he was in the cultural village, but then he was also an official. He was also a track official, you know. And shortly after that, he went to St. Lucia with the youth team. That's netball I'm speaking about. And now he is preparing. He is part of the preparation team for the preparing for a tournament, an Under 23 tournament. I think is in Guadeloupe. You know, no, this guy is just, I don't know what to say, but certainly we need more of these people in sports. Well, let me welcome my co-host, Rudian Sylvan in Toronto. Rudian, good afternoon to you. And as I indicated, we'll be looking at basically the main focus will be a review of 2024, right? First quarter, sorry, of 2024, the first 3 months of 2024, you know, what we have seen, the ups and downs, and the prospects for the remainder of 2024. You know, the main activities we have coming up, in terms of global attention, obviously, will be the Olympic Games, and prior to that, we have the World Relays. We have a number of other sporting activities taking place during that period of time. I know the table tennis players, they off to participate in a regional table tennis tournament. Notice that they got a good send-off at the airport. As I said, we have the netballers preparing. We have footballers that are also preparing because we have Nations League that will be in action soon. And then instead of that, we also have the Whitsuntide Games coming up. For especially our local athletes. But inside of that as well, we have the NCAA, for example, where a number of our track and field athletes will be participating, and not just Grenada. We have a number of regional track and field athletes who will be participating in the NCAA. It's something we have to look out for because that is an indication of who are our athletes that are on the brink of the professional career in track and field. Good afternoon to you, Rudy, and once again.
Pleasant good afternoon to you, Michael, and the listeners. Certainly, we're going to look forward to a lot. There's a lot that's happening, upcoming that's been passed, and definitely what to come. Of course, the biggest one is the Olympic Games. Certainly, a lot of diamond leagues, diamond races will be happening, and so it's a lot. It's a lot, and like I said, the season have just started. Most people is just opening up the season. My athlete haven't even opened up her season yet. She's opening up next week at LSU. So definitely, there's a lot to happen, and the goal is Paris. There's nothing else but Paris, Paris, Paris.
Well, we had the situation today with Duplantis in the pole vault, opening his season with a world record.
And that's what he does. Yeah, that's what he does. Yeah, and that's what he
Um,
does, and I like the way he does it. He break it and he stop, and he go to a next meet and he break it and he stops. You know, because every time he break a world record, he's 100,000 US, right? So it's definitely interesting to see him jump.
yeah, that's a good start, I would say, for
Yeah, yeah.
Duplantis, and he's one that he brings a lot of excitement to. Pole vaulting is
Hmm.
not so much quote unquote a marquee event at these
No, no, no.
championships, but
Yeah,
somehow when
yeah.
he's there, he brings that level of attention, and it's
And
something
and
that
and it's
you
also
have to look
funny.
at.
It's not only for him. It's on the women too. A pole vault, like high jump,
Mhm.
definitely becoming a must see event. Pole vault is getting there. So you have those events that's coming up besides the track and field that we always look at as must see event. So definitely, I would say, especially if somebody could break a world record. We've seen it in the discus, or when those guys in them is going, everybody, all eyes is on there, want to see can they break a world record. So it's definitely entertaining,
Yeah. Well,
definitely entertaining.
let me say, hey, good afternoon. Hey, Michael, good afternoon to you. I know you're saying good afternoon. Big up Michael Bascom, but you might also Michael. Hey, Mike, how things, man? Since after you left Fontenoy United, I don't find I'm hearing much about Fontenoy United in terms of footballing, and man, I don't know what is happening in that community, but Mike, we had to see what's going on there. But certainly, Rudian, the Olympic Games, we'll get back to looking specifically at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the first quarter, but the Olympic Games is something that all sportsmen and sportswomen, because World
doesn't matter
Championships,
who it is,
obviously,
doesn't matter who it is. Yeah,
yeah, the World
yeah.
Championships obviously is for the World Track and Field Athletics
For the
Championship
athletes, yeah,
for the
for the
athletes.
athletes,
When it
yeah.
comes to the Olympics,
Country
whether
and
it's
pride, yeah,
whether it's swimming, whether
yeah.
it's boxing, whether it's track and field, cycling, just name
Field
the sport.
hockey,
Yeah,
name it, yeah.
I mean, even this year, they have breakdancing, for example, is one of the new sports, right? Breakdancing. Could you imagine that? Right? So it's a pinnacle. Is a
Yeah,
pinnacle for all athletes in terms of, and I say athletes in terms of sportsmen and sportswomen in terms of their performance,
yeah, yeah.
participate in the Olympic Games. And by the way, in 2028 in
LA,
Los Angeles, in LA, we'll have cricket.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's something that sportsmen and sportswomen, and that's why probably it's every 4 years. You understand?
yeah.
Because
So funny, Michael.
you
The
have to
cricket
place
surprised
them.
me. The cricket surprised me, um,
Why? Why?
because it hosts by the United States, and the United States don't put new events out if they cannot win, in a sense. And most country tends to do that. Japan, when they did it in, was it in Japan when they had the skateboarding? Is that
Yeah,
oh,
skateboarding.
last, yeah. So they bring something out where they know they can get on the podium. The USA and cricket, challenging, to see them on the podium. But we haven't seen the breakdown of how the team is going to be selected or what is the rules. But it will be certainly interesting, um, and looking forward to see that. But I know they don't really get involved, unless there is a chance for them to get on the podium. And most country does. Most country do that. They don't put a new event in unless they believe they can get on the podium.
Well, it'll be interesting because certainly a number of sportsmen and sportswomen are debuting into the Olympics. Well, and once you debut, it means for the first time. And then there'll be
Yeah,
those
yeah,
who making the exit. It will
yeah,
be
yes,
certainly their last. As I saw today at the Diamond League in China, Yuan Blake from Jamaica, and someone was asking at his age and his performance, how come he's still, you know, As a matter of fact, how come he's still in the Diamond League? Um, he's
Because,
not where he was. Well, many people thought that he would have probably retire along with Bolt, for example. And sometimes you look at it at the side where athletes, sportsmen and sportswomen, some of them some I say tend to want to retire at the time when they're up there. Bolt
yeah,
left when he's
yeah.
still up there, right?
And he's up
And
there.
not
Yeah, yeah,
and
definitely.
not when you become a so-called once run, something like that.
But
So
you see now, but see the thing about the sport itself, you especially dealing with the Olympics and the World Championships and other, major world events, you have to qualify. Whatever age you are at, if you can still qualify, you can qualify. You have the opportunity to do it. He believes that he can. I actually really like to see him now. Um, he lost a lot of that muscle and stuff. That I used to see on him. I like the way he looks. Um, and he's passionate about the sport. A lot of people is in it for a lot of reasons. You don't see the flashiness with him. He does what he has to do. He's focused, and that's what I really really like about him. So he just do what he has to do. You find a lot of other athletes. There's all day in the media. They're doing what they have to do. To make a name for themselves. But him. His names certainly do speak volume. You know. Because of his accomplishment in the past. So definitely, seeing him out there still continue because he believes he can do it. And you look at what's in look at the male sprinting in Jamaica, and we are there. If Blake still have to continue, does not say something? you know, and it says a lot. He's still doing it, and he probably could be in the top four. He probably could be in the relay pool. Um, yeah, that shows that the male aspect of sprinting in Jamaica is falling short on the male concept in terms of the 100 meters.
the 100 meters in particular.
Yeah, 100 meters in particular. 100 meters. You don't have the three guys like you used to. You don't have that solid, three guys. I mean, the time they have three of them that can get on the podium. All three of them, and on major thing we see a Safra tends to fall short in terms of the major competition sometimes. But all three of these guys in them was world class, top three in the world. Coming out from one country, and it's been years you've seen that happen. You've seen it in the United States for many years back in the 80s, early 90s, where you could have at least maybe four. What was it in Seoul? 88, they had the four fastest men in the world. They dropped the baton in the relay, but they had the four fastest men in the world, and they dropped the baton. But you don't see that countries having that no more. The last country, like I said, is definitely Jamaica having those the three musketeers, those three guys that was very, very well known, And then that come to a question I had, Michael, and we are waiting for Kate to come on. And I really wanted to ask a Jamaican coach itself, specifically, where does they see the sport going for Jamaica in terms of track and field? And I asked the question because is it a youth sport more? Is that the focus right now on a youth development area more than an international? We are seeing a lot of young athletes coming up, and by the time they reach a certain age, we don't hear about them again.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. We have I was speaking with someone this week, and he said, Jamaican, and he said that the young man who break Johan Blake record in the 100-meter last year cannot even run that time right now. So I like it's something, and he said something to me, and I went back and I looked at it specifically at champs, and he said when you look at these young athletes,
mm-hmm.
there's nothing to fix. There is nothing to fix on them. They are running perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to fix, and they're running at that height of a level, world standard level. But when they get to the age of maturity, we're there. And that's why you see, last week, and when they know we had our guest on, and he said you have those late boomers, and that's what happening now with a lot of this, the Jamaican athletes who are top now in the world. They are those late boomers. They are not the character champs, and that's how we come back again. What is there for them after character games? What is there for those athletes, right? So that becomes a challenge. That's what we like to see more. And if we're really focusing on the under 23 or on under 20, the junior level, we have to have more competition for them individually.
Yeah, so that's why
Yeah.
That's why it's important that the focus should be on the development side of our sportsmen and sportswomen, and not just track and field. Whatever sporting discipline, we need to have that development side of it. I have my opinion when it comes to the promoters involved in sports, and those sort of things like that. So because they don't see it, the development side of it, they
development side,
they just see bread and butter, as they say, the monetary side
we
and the profit side.
We love our country, and we are small, and Jamaica is greater and bigger, and they could hold a championship. They don't even need to invite anybody. They could have a full finals in every event, and they don't need to bring in anybody.
As a matter of fact, you could have said that, let's say probably about 5-10 years ago, you might have just said probably only the sprints, the 1 and the 200. Now,
not no more.
The Jamaicans, as a matter of fact, even in the throws, we are Jamaicans, while they may not be the world class itself, but they have 1 or 2 in the discus.
They have world class potential athletes. That is throwing in that area. Yeah,
they may not have the depth as, let's say, the USA and things like that. So but they do have a couple of world class athletes, and by the way, male and female, right? And that's the essence about it, because they are in a position where they can feel an entire 100-meter field with reserves. That's why athletes can, as I'm hearing this week, that athletes are pulling out of the relay team, for example, but it does not affect the Jamaica relay team in terms of participation.
So what?
It just means that whoever they had in reserves, and again, let me see. Quincy Jones is saying Blake, and he's referring to you, and Blake is the final person in the Bolt era. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. However, there are other young sprinters on the rise, such as Hakeem Blake, Watson. Watson ran today. Both, by the way, both Hakeem Blake and Rowan Watson, they were in that race with Ewan Blake, right? There's Oblique Seville, Keyshawn Thompson, and others. They have quite a few others. And I mean, when you look at champs, certainly some of the guys in champs, could blend in there, because they're running 10-4, 10-3, 10-4, 10-5, and they certainly can find a place there. Good afternoon to you, John Utley, as well. But before we get really cracking, and I'm still hoping that Keith probably will get on. If not, we'll just continue with the discussion. This week, there was, it was this week, I think, Otto Bolen had his prediction on the Olympics, USA versus the rest of the world in terms of some of the events, right? And I'm glad Quincy is on and others are on. I just wonder, you may have seen it, but just for the discussion's sake, I want to present that to you.
We are welcoming back Otto Bolden for a preview of the fastest events on the track in Paris. Otto, what we're going to do here is it's going to be USA versus the world. So would you take Team USA to win gold in these events, or are you taking every other country competing at these games? And so we have a number of events. We'll start with the fast ones, the 100 meters on the women's side, Otto.
I think that the drought is over on both the women's and the men's side in the 100. I'm going to say women. Sha'Carri gets it done. So the U.S. goes there. And for the men, Noah allows more than any other sprinter on earth. He has gone back since the last Olympics where he got bronze at 200, and he has worked on his weaknesses. Noah Lyles gets it done. I think the U.S. finally get back to 100-meter gold on both the men and the women's side.
No U.S. man has won this event since 2004, as you know, Otto. All right, let's move on to the 200 meters.
200 is a little different. On the men's side, Noah has more competition than he has had in his entire career because of the presence of Tobogo from Botswana, because of the presence of Zarnell Hughes of the UK, and that's before we talk about the Americans who are very strong in that event. USA is going to win the men's 200. On the women's side, that's the world because Sharika Jackson of Jamaica has not lost in a very long time, and I do not see her losing in Paris. In fact, the gap between her and the rest of the world is quite immense.
400 meters.
400-meter women. If Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni had run in 2023, and I had a better picture of what I thought she was bringing in 2024, I'd be a lot more quick to put her there. But in the 400 for women, you have Shawnee Miller-Weibo of the Bahamas. What has she done? She's won the last two, and she's coming back from a maternity break. That usually means that you get a little bump in your event.
Sure.
I'm going to say World gets the women's 400 from Bahamas. And then on the men's side, that is wide open. I'm going to say World gets this too.
Okay.
World gets the 400-meter men. The U.S. men have been good at times and other times not so good.
We move on to the 800 meters. The world is gaining some steam here, Otto.
Yeah, the world is pulling a little bit more even, but guess what? Here comes the United States again. 800-meter women, Athing Mo lost at the World Championships last year, but it was sort of a weird year for her. I think she bounces back. The American record holder, Athing Mo, wins the gold, which would make her a back-to-back champion. 800-meter women, USA. 800-meter men, the United States men have been notoriously struggling over the last couple of years, even though they did get the world indoor title this year. So I'm going to go world here for 800-meter men. So as you can see, tied up 4-4.
Yep. Kenyan athletes have won the last four in the 800 meters on the men's side. No U.S. man has won that event since 1972. So let's get into the 100 and 110-meter hurdles, the hurdle events now, Otto.
This is probably the hardest event, both on the men's side and the women's side, to pick because, particularly on the women's side, every year, it's like a carousel. It's like, oh, you get a gold medal, you get a gold medal, you get a gold medal. I think the women on the hurdles in Paris give it to the world.
That's the world. Okay.
That's the world. But on the men's side, Grant Holloway of the United States, who is now three-time world champion, two things missing from his resume: world record and Olympic gold. I think he takes care of the Olympic gold medal in Paris. Give the 110 highs to Grant Holloway and the USA.
All right, the 100-meter hurdles here for the women. Their last U.S. gold, 2016, part of a sweep in Rio back then, if you remember that. So what do we have right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 5. It all comes down to the 400-meter hurdles.
Oh, boy. If Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni is going to run the 400-meter hurdles, I would put the USA to win that event. But I don't think she is. I think she's done everything she could possibly do in that event. She's world champion, she's Olympic champion, and she has, 2 or 3 of the best times ever, and of course, the world record. I think that Femke Bol of the Netherlands wins the women's 400-meter hurdles in Paris, so put that for the world. But on the men's side, I think Rai Benjamin, who has been silver in the Olympics, silver at Worlds, bronze at Worlds, I think it's going to be Rai's year. Give the United States and Rai Benjamin the 400-meter gold, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-6.
Yeah.
That's why we love track and field. Everybody has a shot.
What's the tiebreaker here? I guess we got to figure that out. But we're going to take a picture.
You know what the tiebreaker is?
Yes.
The relays.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That'll break the tie. And if this comes completely true, then we've got to hit you up for lotto numbers or something like that.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Here. So take a picture, mental note of that, everyone out there. Otto Bolden, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Folks, what do you think? Well, Quincy, I know you have been following it quite a bit, so I probably want to hear what you you have to say. But do you think, Rudian, that Atto is on something. I mean, it might have been a bit.
He's on something up until the first one.
Which is, well, the first one was the 100.
Yeah, he's off on the 100-meter women. I giving it to the world.
You giving it to the world?
Yeah.
Why?
I've seen athletes who is coming and they're coming to win.
Well, listen, all athletes.
I know, but I'm saying
all athletes
it's going to be that 100-meter women, and again, my opinion, will be in the Caribbean.
Oh, the women's, right?
Women. It will be in the Caribbean.
Women.
It will be in the Caribbean. Either it goes to Jamaican or St. Lucia.
Or St. Lucia.
Yeah.
All right. So I think Quincy is
yep.
Both 100 and 200.
Not the 200, Quincy. I'm sorry.
200. The 200 is that's Miss Jamaica's baby.
Yeah, 200 is thing. And I've seen, I think a lot of these women, we haven't heard them, we haven't seen them, and I think they are Jamaican females. If it is their last Olympics, they are really going to come for it. And I think they are working hard. They are training smart. The coaches is very meticulous in terms of what they are doing right now. Towards that, you're not going to see them running a lot of events. They're going to be, very, picking and choosing what they're going to compete in. And I think they're going to come really hard. But it is going to be a Caribbean. It will be a Caribbean 100 meters women.
Mm-hmm.
So the world, and I think that's where that's the tiebreaker. I agree with everything else, but I think that's the tiebreaker.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes, Quincy. Sherika is in form. She is hungry for that.
Yeah.
And there is no mistake about that. But yeah.
And then you have to think about it too. Shelly is, I'm telling you.
Which, by the way, could also be her final
Olympics,
one, right?
And she has won it for the past what? Past few Olympics. It's always been her.
See, and that's the thing about her. When she shows up when it matters.
Yeah, when it matters.
She shows up when it matters, And
so
then,
I think so, yeah.
And then I was saying that you have to wait for the US trials to see who are the others.
To see who are the others who will be there. I am very iffy also on the men's 400 hurdles. That one also could be, a little upset as well. But everything else I can see. Yeah, everything else I can see. Yeah.
All right. So I keep monitoring to see if I'm seeing anything movement from Keith. Nothing as yet. But it's interesting because I was hoping that by now because I made a request to get some information regarding a Grenada team for the World Relays. What I do know and what I can confirm, even though there had not been any official announcement, are the athletes for the relay team. They are training, and they are training for World Relays. I mean, I spoke to one of the athletes who is actually training, and he is training for the World Relays, right? However, there has not been any official announcement from the Grenada Athletic Association regarding their participation in the World Relays. I noticed Guyana, for example, issued a statement, the Athletics Association of Guyana, basically announcing their teams and even making official that Guyana, for the first time, will be participating in the World Relays.
Relays,
Well,
yeah.
I don't know what Grenada is waiting on, but what I can tell you is that there are athletes who are training for the World Relays. And I'm telling you that because this week, during the week, I spoke to an athlete while in training and training for that, but nothing official yet, but I mean, that's good news. Probably at some stage they'll make the announcement, the official announcement, and it's good to hear that at last Grenada will be participating in the World Relays at whatever level it is. I think it's a start. And hopefully they can qualify, and then they can have a very good team or teams at the Olympics, because I think 14 teams are coming out from the World Relays per event. 14. Well, it's 16 in all, but 14 coming from that. Then the next two best in terms of the rankings. So the 14 of the 16 coming from the World Relays. So could you imagine you into the final? I'm just using an example. You're into the final.
Yep. You're automatically in.
You're automatically in because that's 8 already. And then depending on how you did in the preliminary round, you could be in as well.
You could be in as well, yeah.
Because it's actually 14, right?
14, yeah. So even if you come, even if you come ninth, you might have that in a 90% chance.
So by participating, you almost I'm saying, because there will be elimination and things like that. So, and then with 4x1 as an example, the aspect of batter, falling, lane infringement, all these things, certainly the young guys participating at that level for probably the first time, there might be a little butterflies and things like that. So because you've seen the big guns, there and things like that. So,
but it's also big, Michael. What we have to understand, it probably could be bigger than any other World Relays that they ever had before. You see, a lot of new countries now is getting involved and running. And Bahamas will have a lot of countries. A lot of these people will definitely be in the Caribbean for the first time, because a lot of countries will show up. Lots of countries will show up. Certainly, so definitely, it's just about having a team, getting out there, and you hope that in 3 categories that we know we could make it in 3 areas. I believe that Grenada couldn't qualify, but they have to perform. We can speak it as much as we want, but they have to go there and run to qualify. But in 3 areas, they either do it in a mixed relay, the 4x1 and the 4x4, 4x1 men and 4x4 men. I think they can qualify, and in a mixed relay.
But you said, but what are the prospects in the mixed relay? Who are the people you're looking at for the mixed relays?
I mean, there'll be some names. There'll be some people, and I think they there is talks, and I've heard there is talks, and but my main concern is a lot of the college athletes is getting the okay from the university to get them to go and compete. This is just my concern. It's always been a concern with me when they're dealing with NCAA. If you don't have a relationship with the school, it's really challenging sometimes, because the school have that right to say yes and say no. So because
But for yourself, the interesting thing was that at the we had a session that we attended with Chris Johnson from the University of Arkansas. And I mean, that was quite a bit, But before we get into that, here is something for you from Edwin Sam. The outdoor season has officially begun, and records have started to fall, certainly. This will be a fantastic season leading up to Paris. Rudian, I'm keeping my eyes on Arab. Yes, he's keeping his eyes on Arab. Those middle distance events in particular, another set of events that are getting some real attention. The 800, the 1500, real
but
attention.
you gotta, so like again, that conversation I also had Also I had a conversation recently too, is that a lot of athletes is branching out from the country. They are moving away from the country. The challenge in making a Olympic team or making a world team is very hard. You know, in looking at the African nations and the athletes that they have, it's hard to make that team. They just move to another country and they get citizenship. You know, and that's you're going to see that a lot. You see a lot of these athletes is going to move out. You soon might be seeing it in the Caribbean. You know, especially living in Jamaica, where some of these top athletes might be able to leave Jamaica and go to other countries. You know, and the last one I know offhand that they didn't really leave because of that, but they get married. It was Malinati, and she compete for her husband, country. So we've seen a lot of that happen, and that could come back and take place. A lot of artists in the United States who was born in the United States, a lot of them is not running for the United States. They're running for the country where their parents was born. Because they got citizenship, and then they could make that team. And they see that a lot happening. And I think that would happen in the African countries. A lot of these athletes will go to a lot of these small countries, and they will give them citizenship, and they can compete now for that country. And we might see that a lot happening. That's why you see that in the 800, you might see a lot of names of countries that you say, where this person, come on the farm, but they become citizen, and they go there and they'll perform, and it could be, listen, sometimes the eighth person in from the best eight, the eighth of any African country could be number one in the Olympic Games. That's how good they are. The guys are really, really good, and they start moving into other events like the 400. They start coming down, especially on the women's side. So a lot of it will start happening, and we might see a lot of that in the near future, where a lot of athletes start be moving into that. So yes, you might be seeing some names of some country you never heard about when athletes is in a finals, in a distance race, especially with the 800, where it's no longer that a minute 50 or a minute 49. No, it's a minute 43, a minute 42. Then guys that I'm running now, it's a sprint. It's literally a sprint now. Is that 800 turned to a sprint now? So definitely you see a lot of that might happening now.
Let me see if I can get a piece from Mr. Chris. Let me see, Mr. Chris Johnson, that coach from the University of Arkansas.
Yeah.
Because they were they had the Indo champions.
Yes.
Indo champions.
In his first year as the head coach.
In his first year of the as a head coach. And I promised to find out, exactly his heritage, because somehow he come across Caribbeanish,
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get
things that you do. I know you spoke on the mental preparation and that sort of thing. But as a track coach, what are some of the things that you look to implement with these athletes?
Well, I can kind of break that down. Obviously, different events will require different things, but in totality, number one thing is we lift in the morning. So we lift 4 days a week. We lift on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So we'll lift at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the AM. Then they would go to class, get a bite to eat. And then they wouldn't come back to training until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So usually 4 to 5 hours in between that, and then we'll do training. And so I will give you an example. So on Mondays, we're doing speed work. So what is speed work? Or for me, I don't do a lot of pure speed. I'm just not a big believer in doing a lot of it. We do some of it, but we do. I would see more anaerobic work, more like 150s, 120s, 90s, working on speed development, speed endurance, if you will, with medium rest. And when I say medium rest, Medium rest is like 5 to 7 minutes. Short rest is under 3 minutes. Longer if I was doing anaerobic threshold work, that would be 450s, 500s, 350s, 300s. I'm looking more than 10 to 12 minutes rest in between. So I set my week up. So we're gonna lift. We're gonna do our heavier lifts on Monday and Thursday. We'll do our auxiliary lifts on Tuesday and Friday. Wednesday we won't lift at all, and Saturday and Sunday we won't lift, and we'll train one Saturday out of the month in the fall.
Yeah, so quite a bit, right? Quite a bit. And the thing I was very disappointed in is that the lack of participation, as well, Grenadians, I should say, because it was an opportunity. Even though invites were sent to them, they received it, they accepted it, they promised to, but they didn't show up. Apart from yourself, Rudian, Hazelland was there, she was there. Mr. Johnson that's Angel Johnson from Caracu was there. Raquel Mitchell from St. Andrews. I think she deals with the convent in Grenville and the St. Andrews Parish. Nicholas Benjamin from the GBSS was there. But there were a number of other coaches who basically invitation was sent to. They accepted it. They acknowledged. And for some reason, they didn't show up. But Rudian, this was so engaging. Here you have one of the top coaches, track and field coaches, and successful even in his first year as a coach, because he was assistant before. And he was providing, over an hour and a half. And there was a question, Q&A. So even Hazelland, for example, was asking him about, training mechanism for her daughter, for example. There were coaches from other islands who were asking about how do you do certain things, all these sort of things. I thought it was very, very engaging. But the man of the moment is somewhere wrong. I told you and I warned you that Mr. Keith Williams is all over the place, right? He's all over the place. That's something we can't take away from him, right? And that's why I was having a bit of patience, because as I told you, Keith was, let me just give you an example. And, Keith is there, so he can bear me out on that. So on one particular day, you had Keith participating in the opening ceremony, dancing, blah, blah, blah. Then a few moments after, Keith was back on the track as an official. Then there was a time Keith was in the village, I think, dancing again, performing, blah, blah, blah. But that's Keith, Then right after that, I could not have tracked down Keith, but Keith was off to St. Lucia. He just returned from St. Lucia, as a matter of fact, netball. And Keith is a bit late on the program today. You know why? Because he was also engaged in a session for netball, right? And that is the sporting side of it. But Keith is in all sort of dance group. Keith participates in probably 3 or 4 carnivals per year. I can tell you that. Well, Grenada, there's also Caracu. There is also Grenada Day. And I think Keith does be up for Labor Day and things like that. But we'll hear from Keith. Keith, good afternoon to you. And first of all, where do you get this sort of energy from, Keith? Where you get that sort of energy from?
Well, I eat a lot of rice, so
rice.
I'm half Cuban, right? So that's why. No, I think
good afternoon to you once
it's
again.
a drive. It's a drive to serve. I think that's where the energy comes from. There's that will to give, that will to share, that will to give service. I think that's where it comes from.
I laugh because Stacey is saying rice, and she put it on like rice,
Because they know me.
But certainly, Keith, and by the way, you have been doing that for quite a while. First of all, as a start, tell us how you got involved in this service to country. I would call it service to country, sports and culture.
Well, when I was in fourth form at the Presentation College, one of my dear friends, Kathy Sherman, who lives now in New York, she invited me to see this Fisherman's Story, which was a production of the Vinuel Lagana Dance Company. And the rest was history. Yeah. Because what happened in those days, there was this ship called Cunard Countess. It came to Grenada every week. So every time we perform, a percentage was given to the company, and the rest was shared among the performers. So I just saved my money, and that's what I used to pay tuition to go to Grenada National College, which is now TAMCC. And I just continued giving and giving, training Sunday to Sunday, walking from Fontenoy to Marisho House religiously. Then I joined the Grenada School of Dance where my modern dance training came. And when I started to teach in 1993, Miss Eleanor Pilgrim, who was a coach at that point, she
And
she had
that's St. Joseph Convent, St. George,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
St. George's. Yeah,
Mhm.
and Miss Pilgrim was that person who really took me under her wings and showed me some of the how the coaching is done. And from there, I just continued until I went to Cuba. And when I was finished with Cuba, I came back, and the service continued.
Well, I'm glad you say service, because a lot of people probably wouldn't go that far as you have gone and wouldn't go for that long as you have gone. Now, you spoke about basically walking, and someone said, well, they didn't even know you were from Fontenoy. So let me say, big up Fontenoy. Um, you know,
Yeah,
but
I'm a point
you know,
man.
yeah, he's a point man. And I remember Keith coming to support Fontenoy, well, point as we used to call it then, but
Continental United.
yeah, Fontenoy United. Well, it was no match to Queens Park Rangers, but we'll talk about that another time. Yeah. But Keith, but did you, when you were attending the PBC, for example, presentation, for this
Hmm.
college, was that part of you? Was that, or just after you graduated from school, you got involved in that, service, that, as a volunteer? Because I still have to call it as a volunteer.
Well, it started as a presentation college because I was a Sea Scout,
Mhm.
and with the scouting movement, service is an integral part of it. And after being a scout, then I became the scout leader before I went off to Cuba. So I think that whole passion for service and giving was gave birth when I was at presentation college, and I just always want to help. I remember in traveling, and when people would use their money to buy clothes, and so I would buy videos and music and magazines, and or take a class just to improve myself. You
Mhm.
understand? Just to
Yeah,
give back to this
right.
piece of rock.
You're right. Um, Let me go into some sports for a while, Keith.
Hmm.
You involved in a lot of officiating and all these sort of things in terms of sport. Uh,
Hmm.
Off the back, I would think of netball. I would think of track and field. But just give us an idea.
Volleyball,
Yeah, and volleyball. Yeah.
volleyball.
So just give me an idea of all the sporting activities or sporting disciplines you actually engage
Okay,
in.
so apart from track and field, volleyball, and netball, the same as Pilgrim, she taught us how to play badminton as well. But it's just the time I don't have to dedicate towards playing badminton. But track and field, I have a passion for track and field. Netball, because I got involved in netball because at the time when I started, um, the coach then had some issues, and I was the only one. I was doing the fitness training. So
Mhm.
when she couldn't come, I just started to research and say, okay, these are some of the routines you can do. And I got involved in the coaching just by chance. So then I said, well, if I'm coaching, then I may play. So I started to play. And then I said, in order to play well or to understand the game, you must know the rules. Then I went to do my umpiring exam and I was successful. So it was like a 360 in netball per se. And track and field, Well, because St. Joseph's Convent always had some quite outstanding athletes, Melanie Rodney, one for example, Jacinta Bartholomew. But Melanie was actually in my time, and I was one of Melanie's first coach, when she was at Heinz School. You understand? And while I was there, I did the IAAF coaching examination, successful, and then I did the officiating examination by the IAAF too, and was successful. So those are the main sport that I actually I'm involved with.
So you're involved with all these sports. You're
Mhm.
involved in a lot of cultural activities. You dance. You all over.
Sing.
Oh, yeah, sing, all of that. Well, because I was talking to my wife about Keith being on the program, etc., etc. And then she was reminding me that, remember, Keith is probably the only one who will do backup singing for an artist now. And then the next artist, Keith is also there doing backup. And then Keith going and dance for this next artist. And this sort of thing. And then I say, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you, and looking at all these things, Keith, you're involved in the sports, how do you find time? How do you balance your time?
Right. And that's a good question, because I have always observed that with the students that I teach, those that were involved in many activities.
Pete, hold on. I'm not seeing, we're not seeing your face. Your hand was
Okay.
barring your face. Yeah.
Right. Sorry. So what I'm saying is that what I have observed with my students, those who are involved in multiple activities, they are the ones that tend to be most disciplined. So what all these activities have taught me is that time management is important. Time management. And if you give your word is your word. So if I have a session and it's running, let's say 10 minutes late, just inform the other person. But I just tend to, because I know my schedule, it just tend to fall in place, because I know Monday I have this, Tuesday I have this, I have lessons, then I have to go to training, then I have my personal training. And it's just learning how to manage one's time. It's just time management.
Time management. I remember putting up the post around the Easter period, and there was so much feedback on that. But then I actually was doing some research and noticed that even as far back as 3-4 years ago, there were people who were actually saying that it's time to give Keith his flowers, because I don't know how you find the time. For example, there's an iconic photo where this child fell on the track, and there was Keith, with her, rushing her for attention from I think medical or whatever. Tell us about that one in particular. What was going through your mind at that time, Keith?
When I'm officiating, and when I was finishing line coordinator, they have recently removed that, the IAAF. But sometimes I believe if certain things are working for us, we should keep it. So not because the IAAF say that you shouldn't have finishing line coordinators, I don't think we should just remove it altogether. Some of the events we have, they are not international events. You understand? And those finishing line coordinators are very important, and I'll tell you why after. So when a race starts, I am watching the race and I'm watching the athletes.
Right.
And I can tell you from X point, this one gonna fall down. This one ain't gonna make it. You understand? So I watch them as they go around, and I said, no, this one ain't making it. This one will fall as they reach. And some train, what they do is, because they know I'm there, they put a line in my hand. I remember a child said, son, I will just heave on you. And he did. You understand? So it's just being observant, that these are the ones they are running, and you never know what can happen. And just run into the rescue, because sometimes the relevant officials, sometimes they move so slowly. You understand?
And events like, championships like the primary school, for example, especially with the kids and the underage, I can see that being necessary, having someone being observant, being there, being ready in the event of. Okay.
Right.
So
right. And it brings me back the same point to the importance of the finishing line coordinator. Look at what happened with the last relay that salted the whole character vibes. If they were a finishing line coordinator, that could have been
right,
prevented.
right.
Because I heard the double pistol,
and you would have
I
not.
noticed the guys running, and at no point the officials picked up, and I start running up with this yellow flag to the last leg. And when I got it, it's like those guys were running on me, so I had to step aside and allow them to run. But if you had that coordinator there,
you would not have allowed the handover.
he can signal to the others with the whistle and the flag. Oh, something is wrong. They got to stop. You understand? So, because they said take it out, Grenada just take it out.
So you would not have in the event of you being there, because you in most instances will be the finish line coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
You would not have allowed that handover to take place there.
No, because I would have spotted, and I was one of the few who spotted that the race had to be stopped. Mm-hmm. You understand? So that's an important rule, but they have since removed it, and they are the higher up bodies.
So seeing as they have removed it and you are the main finish line coordinator,
mm-hmm.
What is your main role now? You're doing,
I guess, a track umpire. Yeah. I will be stationed along the track, anywhere along the course.
Right. Clev Deputy is saying, allow me to take the opportunity to applaud this gentleman who is fast becoming a modern day polymath. For all he does, it is clear service supersedes monetary supplements. Take a bow. And John Otley, who is actually from the Point, Fontenoy, he says Keith has a big heart. Wish we are all like that. Yeah. Keith, John actually said he left Grenada in 1977. He grew up in the byway opposite Ramfolks area.
I'm a byway man.
Yes, that's what I'm about to say. So he should know people like you and Raw Titus and the byway crew, right?
Yeah.
And things like that. So So Keith, a little bit of your professional background apart from teaching, because you did some of your studies in both Cuba and Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about it.
So when I was finished with National College and I started to teach, then there are these summer courses at the Edna Manley School for the Performing and Visual Arts in Jamaica, and I did 2 summers there. And apart from being a student, I also taught a master class in Grenada's big drum to the Edna Manley School.
Also, you taught in Jamaica itself, right?
I taught a master class specifically on the big drum dances, because I've always had a passion in this big drum dance. I always find, and there's something about Carriacou that always attracts me. And it's just in recent time I found that my great-great-grandmother came from Carriacou.
Any reason why you always in Carriacou's carnival? I'm kidding.
I just like Carriacou. I always want to help out if it's netball or if it's I'm teaching people to dance in Carriacou. There's something about Carriacou, and I think it's because of that my great grandmother came from Carriacou. So I think that's yeah. And when I went to Cuba, although my main studies was they call it physical culture and recreation. So the closest translation is physical education, but it's called cultura física. Yeah. And while I was there, every year, all the students who are studying physical education, there is a competition in the arts. So either dance, singing, drama, whatever. And I always took part for my province. So you get gold or you get silver. And I represented my university at the national level. And I think it is in dancing that some of the adjudicators mentioned to me, maybe I should, try to get into the Superior School of Arts. And I went, did the audition, was successful. And I did 1 year where we did Cuban Contemporary dance and ballet. And I stayed there 1 year because there were a lot of, issues with the teachers and so on. I just said, let me just finish what I came to do and just get out of the place. You understand? So when I when I finished with Cuba, I danced with a contemporary company while I was there as well, and also taught them some of the Grenada traditional dances. So much so that one of the directors of one of the folk companies, she asked me, "What do you guys eat in Grenada?" Because she thought it demanded so much
Mhm.
to do what we do as compared to the Cuban folk forms. Yeah. And after I left Cuba, with always being involved, going to the theater, because I learn a lot just by looking, going to the theater religiously, that wealth of knowledge and information, I just brought it back to Grenada. And when I got back to Grenada, I continued in contemporary dance or modern dance and folk dances, and I joined the Conception Dance Theatre. I work at the Conception Dance Theatre as well, and also I adjudicated a lot in St. Vincent when they have the arts festival in the dance discipline, and I took classes in Antigua, right to the Caribbean. I can't remember how many times I've traveled just for dance in Martinique as well. I did a lot of workshops when I was younger there, you know. So having had all these experiences, I I just decided that um at one point I wouldn't be able to dance, you know. So I choreography is one of the things I do a lot, and that's how I make some money, from doing choreography for a host of soca artists at the Majga. So I choreograph and I also dance for them, and I just choreograph for other events. I collaborate with other choreographers in Grenada for national and international tours because year before we had a big tour in England, which a collaborative work between a company from Ghana, one from England and Grenada, and it was a really nice collaborative work. So I think all the information and the knowledge I gain, as I tell my students, you in every class there is something you can learn. Don't think because you have been dancing all your life it means that you have arrived. There is one thing you can always learn, and to me, my thing to them is discipline breeds success. You ought to be disciplined in order to be successful. Yep.
Rudy, and before you come in, and we'll have to, steal a couple more minutes with Keith because Keith has so much to say. Dr. Sonia Johnson is saying he's
Oh
a
yeah.
great person, a great asset to Grenada, like you, Dr. Johnson, my good friend. So maybe biased, but we definitely need more like him for the growth of this land. And thank you very much, Dr. Johnson, for all that you have been doing for sports medicine, you know,
Dr. Johnson, yes.
yeah, all these things you have been doing a great deal. And Hazel is saying, good afternoon, welcome, Keith. That's Hazel Regis Buckles. She's saying that.
Oh,
yeah, Hazel, you will know as Hazel and Regis, right?
yeah.
It was Hazel
Yeah.
Buckles, right? She, as a matter of fact, she says she is actually listening, but heading to LSU track and field alumni goal. That's a track and field meet today. Clev is saying, Keith, let us not allow peer pressure and impose expectations to fatigue. He's speaking about Annalisa Brown of the Boca Secondary School. Keep her close despite your alliance and elegance to the school by the cemetery. Well, your school by the cemetery is not only your alma mater, but the one that you actually teach it at, And if someone says school by the cemetery, then you know he's a boy from the Tantine area, Yeah, he's a guy from the Tantine area. And Debbie Britton is saying, kudos to you, Keith.
Yeah, I'm a friend.
Yeah, Debbie is all my friend, man. A man with multiple talents. Debbie, I'm still waiting for your response to be okay. I sent you a message. All right, Debbie. Yeah. Debbie. Right. Rudian, a man with multiple talents is Keith. Certainly,
Yeah.
I am certain it's a pleasure for you meeting Keith Williams. You have heard a lot
No,
about him.
definitely. I've heard a lot about him. Kudos to you, sir. And just continue doing the good work that you have been doing. There's a lot more to be done, especially in a small nation as we have a lot of young people coming up who that can learn from you. So just continue doing what you're doing, and continue spreading Grenada name everywhere you go. Every region you go to. The people like you that someone said, I know somebody from Grenada, or I've met somebody from Grenada in small, countries where most of us may never get to travel to. But we always here talking about sports, and I just want to get your point of view in terms of the sports, the discipline that you are involved in, which is like the netball, the track and field, the volleyball. And in your point of view, how do you see what does the future look like for Grenada in terms of the sports?
Um, for me, having been involved in sport for quite a while, if we honestly think of the athletes and we are working for their benefit, we will leave all the politics out of sport. Because my observation is that sport is a regional thing in Grenada. If you're not from a specific area, you are not looked at. You understand? If we really love sport, it doesn't matter if the person is from my region. I will look out for everybody. So if I'm looking for, let's say, spikes, I will look so that at least somebody else, because remember, we Grenadians, and when we achieve as Grenadians. So we have to stop this thing about they're from my area and only look out for them. And a lot of athletes, they are looking at that. They are looking at the preference given to. You understand? You see, I'm involved in this thing, and sometimes you'll be amazed. You see people on the street, they have more clothes more than you. And you toiling day in, day out. They will say, look at Jesse, and people weren't doing anything, but because their friends are associated, affiliated today, they have everything wearing something as simple as that. So even the athletes, they can give these things to the athletes. You understand? Try and invest in the development of the athletes from our hearts. You understand? Don't give lip service and then you put the front like, oh, you're so care about the athletes. No. I've been around long, and to see a lot of people, a lot of coaches, they like to be their chest. You understand? And they they have the feeling of having ownership. No, because when athletes get scholarship, you have to leave them, let it go. You understand? So them hold them up like if you have them in a lodge or in some kind of vault and they can't go. And even in our schools, coaches tell the athletes, do not run that and do not run that. They forgetting the school is who gives the recommendation, not the clubs. You understand? So we have to be very careful in this little piece of rock when we deal with athletes and we say we really love track and field or sport, because it's a lot of hypocrisy going on, and a lot of athletes are leaving because of observations. You understand? And we have to guide them so that we can get the best from them. You understand?
Well, no, most definitely, and certainly we are, and for years, even growing up in Grenada, we always been a people of season. And every season, I think the one season we're not a part of is Carnival. We are always in a Carnival season any time of the year. But when it comes to sports, we're in season. So you see a lot of people now, you hear them, they're watching a sport meet and they probably see it on Facebook and they say, these kids have no shoes, they're running in no shoes, they do it, and they hype in the moment. And that just in the moment. because then now we're coming down where the sport is sort of dying off now
Correct.
until the next season come around. Where are you now? Because it's now you have to come to the table and say, not in the moment, because you cannot give us spikes in the moment. They're competing already, and then they don't know how to use it even if you give it to them. Then, so is it now we want to see those people coming? Is the discussion have to be the now? How do we handle it now for the next season?
Yeah.
And that's just my my
Well,
observation seeing that. Yeah.
well, and it goes back to what Keith is saying. So, for example, I provided all the medals for all the, well, it's over what, 100 sets of medals. So it's 300 plus medals for the Mountain Sports and Cultural Organization, right? And I remember someone asked, what are you doing up there? I mean, it's like, how come you reach up there? How come you're doing, something up there? You're not even from up there, this kind of thing like that. And my thing is that wherever it is, whether it's in Caracou, whether it's in Moncton, Montrouge, wherever it is, if I feel a need to assist and ask for assistance, I do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the sort of things you're talking about. It's not just about your region, as you say, you're thinking a lot about their region. And if you're not from there, then you can support there, or you can, provide. But ultimately, as I'm saying, and as you said, it's Grenada, and we all Grenadians. A couple comments here, because I noticed that your point folks are showing up. Respect and manners, Keith. That is from Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah,
we grew up together, man.
Right.
Yeah.
But then John says, Roll and I used to play in the byway. Roll, John is showing your age on in the public, man. But that's just kidding. Here's to say, Keith, please know we appreciate you and all your work. And but Roll is giving some explanation. John, you didn't know that's Claudette's son, Miss Clefsy grandson, your neighbors back in the day, so a lot of we call it nice point talk, yeah, nice point talk, and he says that's a real point man, born and grow, so a lot of point talk, as we say. Let's say, hence the reason I'm asking you, that's key, to grandfather Annalisa, lip service, yap, 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 and wouldn't step forward to assist in a tangible way, as we are seeing a lot of folks, about that. Was speaking to a gentleman this morning from Victoria about assisting the schools in that region, and he promised to make a commitment once accountability is there. That's the other thing, the whole issue of accountability.
True.
There are some people who are willing to but there are some who were burnt before, and the issue of accountability. And that's why we are encouraging the creation of clubs, proper club structure, etc., and where you can have this level of transparency and accountability and blah, 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 and those sort of things. But certainly, Keith, I think generally, people who have come across you are very appreciative of what you have been doing for sports and culture in particular. But have you at any point in time, Keith, thought about throwing the towel in? That's it. I mean, I've given all, sometimes.
No, I will always give service, may not be in Grenada, but I will always give service.
Is that an indication that Keith has something up his sleeve?
Yeah.
At some point in time?
Yes.
I guess as much you're not really to share with us, but it's sad to know that, after all, and that's why I keep saying we need folks like Keith, and I'm certain you're willing to assist folks in, just by your dedication, your commitment, that's enough for people to emulate, etc. But I'm certain you're willing to pass on certain things to the younger folks who are willing. And who are willing and have that level of commitment, aren't you?
Yes, and I still continue. And when you did the post, there was a post before, and Arona also did a post. And as I said, I appreciate the sentiments expressed by all of you. But if the ordinary person on the street can see the contribution made, why is it that the relevant persons are blinded? You understand what I'm saying? They know. So why the ordinary man on the street has to clamor? You understand? And why the relevant bodies, they are blinded or they pretending they have, I don't know if it's Alzheimer's or something. You understand?
Yeah, but
So I appreciate what is done, but you know, so be it.
yeah, but
You know?
and at the same time, as you always say, you're not doing that for any recognition or anything like that, you know, because if you're doing it for recognition,
I would have left alone.
You would have left a long time ago, because you know it's not yesterday you have been doing that. Stacey is saying Keith is a good sportsman and dancer, but he's also a good humanitarian. On Sundays, he would walk from home to hospital to visit people he doesn't even know, and that is selfless. Love you, bro. Keith, I mean, why? I mean, you walking from wherever you are to the hospital, from here to Fontenoy to the hospital to just to visit people?
Yeah. Because I always see that not everybody at the hospital has somebody to visit them. And we never know what just a smile does. How are you doing today does. I remember this lady from River Road. Today the lady remembers my name.
When you go to visit them, do you dance and sing and things?
No. I just speak with them. How you doing? You know, I walk around and say, okay today. And I just have a chat with them. No, I didn't dance.
No, I'm just kidding with that one. You know? I know you love dancing. You know?
Yeah, but I just give them that love, you know. You know, and that could be a healing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, wow, Keith.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I'm saying all of that. Thanks for that information, Stacey. But if you are really looking for recognition, I mean, and you would have given up a long time ago, because you're still doing those things. But as you said, you know, I don't know. Don't forget, these guys are there. These point boys. I mean, yes, Michael. Don't forget to say point. He walks from point to the hospital. That is one thing about these guys. They have a lot of pride about, and sometimes they don't like to say Fontenoy. They like to say point. Point is, you know, Rudy, and if you know, point is such that they're proud of being called point. It's like how your boy Toro will say the wharf, you know. We will say the carnage just to make it sound nice. They know it as the wharf.
Yeah.
And then Keith and Rawl and others know it as point.
Point. Yeah.
Wow. Donna says, I didn't know about the hospital visit. Awesome. Remind him, say it properly, point life, with a hashtag. Rawl say point life with a hashtag, you know. Yeah. But Keith, you know, we had a chat, you know, earlier before you came on, and we were looking at the prospects. And I think Rudian asked you in a kind of way in terms of with netball and the other sporting disciplines that you're involved in. You know, apart from what are some of the things you hope in moving forward, right? What are your prospects in terms of Grenada? As you know, like for example, you just came out from St. Lucia with our under 16 ballers, and you're now preparing with the under 23,
under 21.
So under 21, sorry, and that's netball. But you're also involved in volleyball and even on officiating track and field. So you have basically a broad view of these sporting disciplines, and as you said, to some extent, you probably don't get the time, but badminton, right? But let's look at those three main sporting disciplines. What are the prospects you see for these sporting disciplines? And by the way, as a little input to volleyball, we know that volleyball, they have been doing pretty well of recent, you know. Last year, even though they won the secondary schools, the volleyball component of the secondary school. And then we have the females doing pretty well in the beach volleyball, and then even, some of the others in volleyball. So we're seeing good prospects in volleyball. But let's talk about volleyball, netball, and track and field prospects going forward.
In order to see a change or to see improvement, I think from the government level, there needs to be more investment in the athletes. A lot of the times they go to, let's say, to train. Yeah. Some of them don't have proper sneakers. Yeah. You go into a competition, you may want them to have two. They barely have one. You understand? So that's one aspect I think we have to look at. How could we meet them halfway? How could we source certain things so that they can better train or better develop themselves or better prepare themselves to take the rightful place in the game. In terms of talent, we have some quite good netballers here. Yeah. I think we just have to work on the structure a bit more, because I always say the new administration, if I were in that seat, I would have taken 1 year off from competition to restructure the whole netball organization. Formation of clubs. If it's village, you understand? But the formation of clubs. Because when you have clubs, it means that you will have a cadre of athletes that you can select from. And it doesn't look like these people. There are some people who think that they have purchased their position on the national team. With the clubs, you will also get new talents coming out. You understand? So I think it was more important for me to really start this drive to get these clubs, get people back interested. Look at St. Andrew had 2 clubs. They couldn't see eye to eye. Some playing for other clubs. Why not go to that area, figure out what's going on? We all Grenadians just in the same region. Get them back and running. Get them to the table and iron out what the problems are. Go into other areas. You understand? And really get the clubs going. Facilities as well. There are some areas you don't have a netball court. You may have a basketball court. So if you play netball on the basketball court, because it's the same dimension, but there's a technicality in the ring. If you're playing, once it touches the backboard, there's no point, because netball doesn't have a backboard. You understand? It's better than nothing, but I think we need the installation of facilities so that at least the athletes can have a place to train, and we really need an indoor facility. We really need an indoor, because for too long the knees would not give up. We need a floor that protects or safeguards the joints of the athletes, because they may be young and say, okay, we jump in high. But what about 5 years down the line, after this ponging, the cartilage may go. You understand? So we need facilities as well. In terms of the track and field as well, we have a lot of prospects. But I think I have one problem, Bascom. And it is compounded when I spoke with one of the Jamaican coaches. Well, you know what he said? In Jamaica, the schools are the ones that coach the athletes. He said the professionals go to clubs. And I observe in this place, they have a set of clubs, a set of children, Bascom. But how are you going to give the attention to these multiple athletes who are running? Obviously, they're not running the same discipline. You understand? So you have club, the name of the club, but you don't have the number of coaches to work with that volume of athletes. So it's just a name, and it's like a fashion now. Everybody's in a club. You understand? But they're not taking care of the needs of the individual athletes, because it's so many you have to train.
Mhm.
How are you going to zoom in on this one and that one, and it's only you, or might be one more person? You understand?
So you recommending that the schools be directly involved in the coaching of the athletes,
Yes.
meaning
And,
that they will
and
have
that's where the military comes into.
okay, so having the coaches, the qualified coaches in the various schools.
Yes. Yeah. And schools mean schools, because they tend to, I don't know why they don't send coaches to convent. So Mr. Williams had to work hard, Miss Rumin had to work twice as hard. You understand? If you're sending to schools, it should be across the board. You understand?
So are you saying that there isn't a coach from the ministry as a assigned
No,
to the school, for
no.
example? So you
No.
have to work with you and Miss Rumin. You all have to work with
Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
and as coaches.
Yes.
What? So you
Yeah.
wow. Sorry, I wasn't aware. So
Mhm.
yeah, no, I wasn't aware of
We
that.
don't have. Yes, sir. That's the reality. You know. So I guess that's why a lot of children are going into the clubs too.
Oh,
You
okay.
understand?
Yeah.
So it's a pull, and you understand. If you understand, one creates, so it's like a push factor or pull factor, if you want to look at it at a
Yeah,
different
a
angle.
different angle. Yeah, pull. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like push and pull. That kind of. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What? So yes,
Mhm.
Dr. Johnson is actually saying that quite a few schools don't have, you know. So there needs to be a restructuring or some level of attention to this. Sorry, I really thought to some extent that some of those schools, or many of the schools that you were even making mention of, had coaches that were actually assigned to them. Okay. And we have so many coaches in Grenada. I mean, when I say certified to some extent,
Mhm.
at some level,
Yeah.
and what I knew of is that to keep your certification, because at the time when I did my IAAF,
Yeah.
the various levels, you
You
have
have
to
to
be
be
coaching.
active.
You have to be
Mhm.
active. Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you want to keep whatever level you are to move to the next level, you
You
have
have
to
to.
prove that
Yeah.
you're active. Certainly I'm not certified because I haven't been active for quite a while. But that's what I knew. So
Yeah. Yeah.
now I'm hearing about that. The question was asked. So all these coaches who have some level of certification, where are they? What are they doing?
I don't know.
This will be something that will be interesting to put to the authorities regarding the coaches. And we talk a lot about the whole commitment and all of that regarding sports, and I am certain it's not just track and field. We're
No.
talking about other sporting disciplines as well.
Yes. Same thing.
So just getting a bit direct, at the convent,
Mhm.
you're doing track and field, you're doing netball, you're doing all these things in terms of assisting and coaching and things.
Yes. Yes. Even this morning, we had training with the under 21, and also as the male team, we had training. And when I was finished, I went over to assist with the convent team, because an ex-convent girl, she's helping out, and I just went over to assist her. You understand? Because Miss Romain tired too. Because she has to come to netball, and there's a table tennis thing going on, so she has to go to that too.
Tennis
So
as well. Yeah.
yes, somebody
Um,
just came to help her.
So convent team is preparing. A netball team is in preparation, right?
Yeah,
In
because
training.
the Grenada netball. Oh, it used to be GNA, but it's now netball Grenada.
Yeah, netball
The
team.
team competition is going on now. So I
Mhm.
guess the normal training too
Yeah.
for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So they're participating in the team competition.
yeah. Mhm.
Oh, okay, right. I was wondering. Yeah. So yeah, netball Grenada tournament. Yeah. Keith. I mean, what you just revealed there, I mean, it's starting to be, I sure, Rudy and you are probably, we probably may have to do an investigation to find out the other schools that are
Yeah,
really affected,
yeah.
in terms of that, Rudy, but that's startling to me.
Mhm.
Well, It's not to me. I'm in Canada.
You could have said that to
We,
us.
we have millions of people here compared to Grenada, and lots more schools. We certainly don't have that here. 25 plus years being in the school system, we don't have that here. Now we don't have there. We have specific sports schools where they hire coaches. That's a total different thing because it's school always come first. So the focus is on education, not sports. You go to the US and university and so forth. Some of the sports pay for the school to run,
Yeah,
especially
in the,
football,
but
right?
in the Grenada
In
system,
terms of Grenada system, it's something that they have to have a program in. Um, and again, it's still school first. It's not sports first. Um, so sometimes, yes, we would like to see certain things, but I've been around here and me being home, the teachers. I went to Magna College. The teachers coach us, and it's not now. It's been years. However, if the Grenada Athletics Association collaborate with the Ministry of Education, then they will collide and have these other athletes coaching to those schools.
Rudan, no. So what happened is that, and that has been a thing that has been there. The ministry has employed coaches, whether it's football, because if you go to the ministry, the structure as it is now, they had these head coaches. So you had a football head coach, you had volleyball, you have cricket, blah blah blah, and thing. And under that, they have a number of what you call junior coaches. And these coaches now are assigned to outside, like outreach. They're assigned to schools, etc., etc. As a matter of fact, through the Imani program, for example, they had a number of these coaches that were through the Imani program that were assigned to schools in various sporting disciplines. And I recall of them.
I know that.
Going to schools and things. And that was how it was, for a while. Now, hearing that some schools don't have coaches assigned to them, it's kind of striking. But in addition to that,
that was my statement. That's what I was saying, that there is a collaboration with two. I didn't know that there was a collaboration with the two Ministry of Sports and the educational system. That means schools must be assigned coaches. I didn't know there was a collaboration yet.
Yeah, but not so much because it's not just athletics association, because you had basketball, volleyball, just netball. As a matter of fact,
sports in general.
Miss Connie Belfon and Kathy and Gabriel now, they were through the Ministry of Sports, through netball, right? Then you had Mr. Nanan Braffit at one point in time, volleyball. You had Raphael Crony before he retired, cricket. Mr. Benjamin as basketball. I can go on naming. I had Latisha Collymore, I think is either volleyball or volleyball. So they have those various coaches assigned in the ministry. And then you had a number of other coaches, as I said, quote unquote, junior coaches as they have been called at the time, that were basically assigned to schools, right? But what we are saying there now is that Heath and others, by the way, because I'm seeing some like, for example, someone saying Wesley College School also, meaning that Wesley College probably is in the same boat as convent, where probably some of the teachers are just taking it upon their own to coach and do, whatever it is. They do not have coaches assigned to them. So even if they're doing well, right, it's all because of the teachers who are taking it upon their own to do something. Like, I don't even think Boca Secondary School, even though Annalisa is doing well and blah, blah, blah. The coach of her is actually, I think he has a club or something like that. So I could be, I learned so much in the past week with these clubs and some of the coaches and things like that. So, and then even Dr. Johnson is saying, and PE teachers as well, needed in all primary and secondary schools. Some have, but not
I
all.
think that's needed. I think that's needed.
But it's also crucial
Yeah.
for all to have. I don't
Yeah.
know Rudian, but when I went to school, we had a
We
PE
had
teacher.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
we
had
had a
that
PE
too when I
teacher.
went to school. Yeah.
But
And,
here,
and I
here
think
in
that's and I
football,
think that's what's lacking. And I
right.
think that's what's really lacking in the schools. And they always talk about fitness and they whatever name they want to call it for the kids in school, but there is never nothing happening, right? And I think this is where the downfall in the Ministry of Education coming in terms of the fitness of students. And I think that's where they are lacking big time.
So,
Certainly.
Keith,
Yeah.
Rudian made a point there, which I mean is okay in places like Canada and the US and things. But do
Yeah.
you think for some reason we may have to go that way if there is no assistance? Schools having to probably employ coaches per se, employed coaches.
Yeah.
Keith saying, yeah, and you look up. No,
But when you
yeah.
employ the coaches, remember resources dwindle. So
Well,
for how long could you keep them?
you keep that right.
Yeah.
That's
Because
true.
I
I mean,
remember we had that issue at our school.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one other thing I want to talk to you about before you go. And that has to do, we have been getting comments from folks, and you may have your own views. You attended the then National College,
Mhm.
now T.A. Marshall Community College, and you would have heard all the talk about. Do you really think that, and you know, looking at the whole structure of the T.A. Marshall Community College now, and you would have experienced or you know, so many sporting disciplines, and the students that would have left secondary schools and gone on to the T.A. Marshall Community College and fell through the crack in terms of their sporting endeavors, etc., etc. Do you really think that we are doing an injustice to those student athletes, especially at the T.A. Marshall Community College?
What should I say? I would say injustice in the way in which the program is designed, because not every year they offer the course. I remember there was one of my athletes used to go GBSS and he wanted to do PE at now the team TAMCC, and they never offered it. In that year he graduated, so he went to do history and something. So I think if PE is important, they would try to have it just as they have math every year and social science every year. I think it is important that they have it on the syllabus every year, so a student wouldn't have to say, okay, they're not offering, so I'm going to do something else. All these things for street students when they cannot do what they really like. You understand?
And what's about
The athletes.
participation? Yeah, participating in sports itself. You know, because someone leaving St. Joseph Convent, for example, or McDonald College, good athlete, good netballer, good cricketer, footballer, basketballer, and they enter the TAMCC, but because there isn't a structure in terms of sports at the college, they just forget
Right.
that.
So
Let's look at the example, Annalisa Brown. Let me just look at an example.
Yeah.
I know they mention a lot about her.
Yeah.
She graduates from the Boca Secondary School, attends the TAMCC,
Mhm.
very young age 16, whatever it is. No structure in place, no form of competition, etc. She's not as attached to a club, anything like that. So, you know, people like her, what happens, you know?
Right. So I believe that as part of the college structure, they have so many different faculties at the college. Why not have the interfaculty meet?
Yeah.
And all those things will actually, and the college too, like when people get scholarships to go to Alabama and whatever, the university has coaches, right? So why doesn't TAMCC, if it's a college, have the coaches there whose responsibility would be to coach these athletes, but you design the program so much in such a way that it doesn't affect their academics, but it allows them to be actually training and not losing anything because they have left the secondary school system and now they are the tertiary level, and then all falls down. You understand? So I think within the college itself, they should have interfaculty meet. And not interfaculty mean it's just a little. It should be, you should design it in such a way that it's a big thing. Because CC is a big college. You have in St. Patrick, you have in Carriacou, and you have in Grenada. You have in St. Andrew, or wherever you have it. So I think they have to really see the importance of this sport too. And you should, and TAMCC should have a strong sport program, so much so that then you employ coaches so that, let's say, you give scholarships, like those university give scholarships, sports scholarship. So you get that same child you're talking about, she gets a sports scholarship. So let's say she's studying nursing, for example. Yeah. But you must train, because if you don't train, you will lose a scholarship. So design it in such a way that they continue, and they have to work to maintain the grades, but you design it that you haven't planned it in a way that it's only the training aspect. You must do the academic part, but you design it that it allows them to train in such a way that they can still develop, continue developing, because I always say it's not the quantity of training. Some people believe Monday to Saturday you have to be. No, it's the quality of training. And if you understand the sense of training, you do not have to train these 6 days a week. When do you rest? And I'm still asking the question, Bascom, when are these athletes resting? They go from school sports to intercall to what? Bascom, they're not resting. Coaches should know better than that. Rest and recovery is important. And that is why we have so many injuries. And that's why they're so weak. They're not resting, they're not eating properly, but you're training them. We need to, and the clubs, I say, they really need to look beyond the money that the people are paying and look at the interests of the athletes. If you really love the athletes, you will look at the interests of the athletes and not shortchanging them because you want a $2.
Yeah. All right. My final thing to you is, if you can give us on a lighter side, Keith, what is your plan for the rest of, into next week? If you have an average day for Keith, so, okay, I know you're home now, Keith, but I'm certain when this is finished, you gone somewhere, you have something to do. Then on Sunday, and then probably for the rest of the week. What it is?
All right. So what? Actually, this evening at 6:30, our male team jet setters, we have a match against QPR, which is male netball. So we part of the netball Grenada competition. They have the male competition. 3 teams this year. So I go to that, and then Sunday is my day when I go to the beach. Yeah.
Okay. Point Beach.
No. I enjoy just what the tourists enjoy. I'm a Grenadian. I need to enjoy it too. So I go to Grand Dance and I enjoy Grand Dance. You understand? When I get school. And from Monday to Friday, I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher since 1993. You understand? So it's CXC time as well. So I'm preparing my students for the CXC exams, as well as those that are in Form 3 and Form 4 who I teach. So it's cool. And then I have dance on Mondays. I teach dance on Tuesdays. I dance on Saturdays. So that's how it is. That's the schedule.
By the way, which team you all playing against later?
QPR, your team.
Right. So Michael said, make sure and beat QPR. I know when that name call, So he said, make sure and beat QPR. Dr. Johnson is saying, amen, Keith. We need a national training program. That's referring to what you said earlier. A national training program. Certainly, I think Rudian was one who, in a past discussion, we made mention of that, a national training program that we can, whatever it is. Periodization is key. Periodization is key. Nita Sylvester says, my best teacher in life. And Michael says, Michael Bascom, # Point Beach is as nice as Granda. You were saying, Keith?
But Bascom, some years ago, after my batch completed the IWF coaching, there were talks of this coaches association. And the plan was that we develop a national coaching program, and each coach will adapt it according to the needs of the athletes.
Of the athletes, right? Yeah.
Bascom, the association hasn't started. And I don't think what I'm thinking is that some coaches believe, I could be wrong, in sharing that you're gonna steal their joy. But they're forgetting is Grenada.
Yeah.
You understand? A program, and you just adapt it according to the athletes you have.
But
There's
are you
nothing
hopeful?
wrong. Huh?
Are you hopeful? Are you hopeful that something will be done at some point?
I'm always optimistic.
Okay.
Yeah, but the realities of it, Bascom, we are Grenadians, and a lot of people don't like to share. As I spoke of the regionalism, that is killing us. That is killing us. You understand? So we have to look beyond that, and then the horizon is right there. I'm sitting on the veranda and actually seeing it. So,
Point live.
point live.
Rudy had some.
Quick. One thing that you mentioned earlier on, if I could just squeeze in, that was the netball and the clubs. I prefer to see more parish competition, so parish teams more than the clubs. Because I'm from Sates, I'm from St. Patrick's. I know of one court where they play basketball and they played netball on it, right? But it's the Sates hard court. If you have clubs, where are they going to practice, right? So you kind of look at that too. You look at a parish like St. Andrews could probably have 2 teams coming out from there, right? So those bigger parish could have more, and I think more of that will be good to see more parish, and they could play amongst each other. I think that would be good to see, and different age category too. So you could go all the way up to under 23, under 20, under 17, even go under 10. And I think if you could expand that, it could be really, really good in terms of parish.
Well, yeah, and the parish thing could just be an extension of, because you could have the clubs, right? Because the clubs
of the parish.
The clubs. And the clubs will be affiliated to the National Association, for example. But I agree that we need some more parish competition. So, for example, there's no reason why you cannot have, outside of the club championship, you have inter-parish tournament, whether it's netball, football, volleyball, basketball,
basketball, cricket, and every sport. And I think that would drive, because sport, I believe sport build a nation, and we see it in the European countries with soccer. They literally build those towns all there. Small towns have soccer clubs that is just building them. They unite together. And another thing I would also like to see, you mentioned seeing the government stepping in and doing certain things. I would like to see the public sector, the businesses coming in and helping some of these athletes with private sector coming in and helping with the running shoes or the netball shoes that some of the kids need. I look at it like, if I'm a government agent, if you are on a national team, then yes, I should see to it that the athletes who's on the team should have 2 pairs of shoes. But if you are in a club, you'll need to see how the private sector can step in and help those athletes, because that's really lacking. And I think they can help, and I think somehow we got to make that work. And especially netball, we talk about track and field a lot, but the netball is something I would really like to see grow in Grenada. We have seen how good we are, and we are good without even having the parish and even the clubs in a real deep competition. But look how well we do when we go out in the international and play. So I think it's something we should really, really focus on a lot more now. Netball, we see how track and field can do. We have our soccer going, they just really want to see more netball competition happening. And even going back to the clubs in soccer, every parish should have a women team. Or a girls team, and once you see you do that, then there you go. You take away from what we don't have right now, which is that PE in school, and getting a lot of these kids in them stay active. They're always active because they're involved in something, and they're not, as we always say, they're home on their tablets. They're home on their tablets. Why? Because there is nothing for them. There is no programs in some of those parishes. There's absolutely nothing going on for them. They finish school, there is nothing. In our days, going back many years ago, we had something. We had club stuff, we had local stuff going on, but it's not there no more.
Rudy, and not everyone is like Keith, you know. Keith has he has that energy to burn. He has that energy to burn. Not everyone is
But
like
definitely, it's stuff we would like to see that can really build Grenada. You know, we talk about what happening in the Jamaica and all that. That's what they do out there. You know, that's literally what they do. You know, they have those things. Yeah, the involvement in those young athletes. So I think it's something we should like to see, and then and we can. But again, Kit, when we come on here, we talk, and we talk about how we feel. We talk about some facts that we know, but those who are in the position to come in and give us some insight refuse to come on and enlighten us with certain things for whatever reason. But they do listen. They really do listen. They might be in the background listening to what we have to say, maybe hoping that we talk bad about them. We don't do that on here. We just speak truth, and we speak our opinion, what we would like to see. I love my country, and I want to see my country grow. Not, like I said, not only in track and field, as we see, we have 3 world athletes who can bring medals for us, but we want to see more. We want to see us in football. You know, we want to see us in basketball. We want to see all this stuff happening. So it's not only in one set of sport where we pour into. And again, what we see happening, even with some of the coaches you talk about, we are them. They have their levels. Are they in the moment of just the moment? Track and field season. So let me go get my coaching level, and after that, they just drop it. Let me go get my netball season. But they have to be involved more. And I think that's what it is. Sometimes I know we throw it a lot on the government too. Sometimes, and they have a big part in it. But the 40% also fall on the people as well. They have to also involve themselves and do that. But again, thank you, man, for what you're doing. We definitely look to have you on again. Continue what you're doing. Hopefully, you might open up and let us know what your goals are in the future. But definitely, we're looking forward to have you on again.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, Keith, so some parting words, obviously. I noticed that quite a number of your fans are still on. They very much like to hear what you're saying, as one says. Great motivator. I love him so much. He always look out for others. He always have me laughing in sports. And thumbs up to you, Keith. Certainly.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody has their purpose in life, and once a person identifies what's their purpose, it's easier to go through that journey. And I just believe mine is just to give, and just to share what I know without any reservation, because some people may share and they hold back. I don't believe in holding back. I just believe that you cannot go to the grave with it, so just share. You understand? And I will continue to give back. I will continue to be that inspiration, that pillar of strength for some who do not have that strength to continue. I'll be their voice once I'm given the platform to be that person for them. And I just want to see Grenada grow from strength to strength. Even though I'm here or not in Grenada, I will always see myself as Grenadian and always giving back to Grenada.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much, Keith. Well, and just for folks, so Keith will be walking from Fontenoy, Point to the bus terminus on Sunday, and then you'll wait there to see if there is a bus. If not, then Keith will start walking, but he's going to Grandlands. And I know that, and then it will be vice versa. He comes back. If he gets if he gets the bus or he gets a ride up to
He go flag a ride.
And then he waits to get himself up to Point. That is Keith. I'm telling you. I can see Keith on a Sunday waiting in the terminal, waiting for our bus to go. Yeah. Thank you very much for all that you have done.
No problem.
I must say, Keith always on the finish line to help those children. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I appreciate it. You're welcome.
Okay, bless. All right, bye-bye.
Good. Yeah. Wow. folks, holiday from Mr. Keith Williams, and something Keith said today that, well, I was announced today that we didn't even know, that was revealed today that we didn't even know, his visit to the hospital just to see people and, you know, talk with them, whatever it is. And mind you, again, Keith is walking to the hospital, you know, he's walking to the hospital. He's not, you know, I don't know. But my thing was that I didn't even know until after I put that post over the Easter weekend holidays. You know, I saw Keith, you know, dancing, and I say, you know, something. You know, I was sitting there and I saw Keith out dancing. I say, but, you know, Keith will be dancing, then he's going to officiate. No. You know, and I know him for quite a while, you know, because his mom and my mom, they're very, you know, very good friends and things like that. So, and then I know Keith when, you know, Queen's Park Rangers used to be, you know, as Michael would say, busting tail on point, you know, and things like that. So Keith used to be down with his mom and sisters and things, supporting point at that time, you know, and coming down to the Queen's Park and things. So we know him for quite back then, you know, and we are around the same, you know, school age, everything like that. So, but what is interesting is that his dedication, you know, his commitment, you know, and when I saw that thing there, that period, I think was the opening ceremony, and then Keith again officiating, and I put that out there. Then sometime after, I was doing some research, you know, going, and then I saw there was some post about Keith some years back, 2-3 years back, and they were making references to some of the things that Keith was also involved in, you know, and then I decided to go on Keith's social media, and I saw photos and videos of Keith back, you know, a few years back, 2017, 2014, 2015, you know, in carnival, dancing, and, you know, all sorts of things, you know. And I said, this guy is a guy who has been very committed, and really, and I'm certain that if it was one who was doing something for recognition, he would have left that a long time ago. Yeah, well, you know the culture, you know. Yeah, a long time ago, and he does it for the love, you know, for the love, and he's so committed about his country as well, because he's one who, wherever he goes, he has this flag and something about Grenada, and, you know, he comes up to New York, for example, for the launch of the Grenada Day, as a matter of fact, I say Grenada Day, and, you know, all these cultural activities and things like that. He's a member of the National Folk Group and has represented Grenada all over the world and things. He is front and center in terms of representing Grenada, you know, and I think it's time. I have not been saying that, you know, in general terms, but I think it's time that we show some sort of recognition to Mr. Keith Williams. He deserves it, you know, and it's not just culture, but also in sports and all, as you know, Dr. Johnson and others say, you know, he's a humanitarian, you know. Who will find the time in all this busy schedule and thing, and you don't have to, he still leaves home and go and make a visit to the hospital and just say hi and hello to, you know, those who are ill and things like that. So he doesn't even know them. He just shows up, and, you know, so, you know, kudos to Keith Williams. And I want to thank you, Rudian. I think it was a very engaging discussion with Mr. Williams.
Most definitely. It was a good one. It's always good to bring in a different, you know, view and a different vibes, you know, in the program. And that certainly was one. And like I said, we learned a lot of things today. Definitely not knowing that a lot of schools don't have some coaches. Definitely something we got to look into. And looking for, like I said,
he made mention of that, and here we had other schools saying, "Hey, we are also in a similar situation."
Also in the same situation, and then you're going to have some schools. You go to some schools, they're going to say they have it.
Yeah, as you say,
some they have it. You know,
some are fortunate.
Because I knew of the Mani program for the elementary school, so I knew that because I was very, connected with my old primary school. So I knew
Right.
something. They wasn't too happy with some of them, but there was someone there. At least someone was there. So but definitely, like I said, we have seen the new light of something. So certainly it's something we have to discuss,
Yeah.
and hopefully we have some people on that can give us more light on that,
So
and truth on that, and
yeah,
definitely, and see what our show can do. Like
yeah.
Scholar, many times Scholar sing a song, something changed in the government. So hopefully, hopefully that we say some things in here that might change. So yeah,
We look forward to that. Thank you very much, Julian. Always a pleasure.
no problem. Thank you, and to the listeners, and thank you for coming on with us.
Okay, then. Thank you. So that's all, folks, for this week. Certainly looking forward to your company come next week, God's willing. Hopefully, we will, have another series of program. Can't say for now what it is or who it is. We'll be discussing. Hopefully, we'll let you know. But I think it's sometime in May. We may, I think it could be the 11th of May or something. We may switch that because we have in a media session with some of our athletes. Okay, I sort of media workshop with some of our athletes. So that may be switched to some extent. I will let you know when it gets closer to that. But all for now, I want to thank you very much for being part of our program. Look forward to your company come next weekend, God's willing. Until then, do have yourself a pleasant week.